This race took so long that Venice fully submerged itself underwater. This race took so long that the debate on if Epstein did it is over. This race took so long that I don't have anything else, but you get my point.
Lightning strikes, losing the broadcast, red flags in overtime, all in one race? More likely than you might think, I guess. Hey guys, thank you so much for joining us for another episode of NASCAR Cup Dates. This weekend we found ourselves at Gateway. And I'm not going to lie, I had this track earmarked for a little while. I love the design of it. It's very much a hodgepodge between a lot of the interesting aspects of Darlington with a lot more of a flat and subdued style of New Hampshire. How did it pan out this weekend? I gotta say, I was not a fan. Brake rotors were detonating, drivers were overshooting the first turn far too often. It was an overall painful experience to the point where I was literally screaming, will it ever end? I believe we found the point where there's too much of a good thing with NASCAR, and we found it at Gateway. But without any further ado, let's get to it.
Before we cover the race, we have to go back to the beginning of the week where Chase Elliott got slapped with a penalty and the social storm that took over. Oh my god, it rivaled Katrina. The storm absolutely devastated no one. Absolutely no one, not a single soul, apart from God's experiments. Corey LaJoie got tapped to drive the number 9, saying that the suspension was not necessary. Guess we know where those engines come from. And Carson Hocevar was tapped to drive the number 7. Maybe LaJoie's career is over in this race.
Very quiet on the radio. Kyle hasn't said anything this run, but keep in mind that team.
Oh fuck yeah, his career's over. And before we get into the race, we're still yet to see all drivers for the 36 chartered cars actually start the race. I mean, maybe next year. So we get to race weekend and we managed to get a whole lap of the race in before someone spun out and brought out a caution. And then the red came out because lightning struck around the area. Ka-chow. An hour and a half later, and we were able to get the entire race in. It was all Kyle Busch and Ryan Blaney for stage 1. Kyle Busch taking the W. And you know what? There weren't much passing up until then. Still a solid race. In stage 2, we managed to get a whole lap in before Ross Rost.
Ross Chastain! So this man does not go very long without controversy. Jamie McMurray called him out a few weeks ago, saying he's been involved in 9 incidents, all back to back to back. How do you do that? So, coming off of one of the restarts, Ross Chastain decides to push a corner a little bit too hard. Turns 1 and 2, decides to say, you know what, I am going to push this 3 aside. A move that we have seen done throughout the day, but more often than not, drivers have held back from it. Ross Chastain thought differently. What happened? Michael McDowell's on his outside. He was a little bit crowded. Michael came down on Ross. Ross came up on Michael. Michael got sideways and spun around. The crew chief now has said, I guess that's what they call getting Chastained. So Ross Chastain living up to the name once again. And we've gone 1 points-paying race at the Coke 600 without a Ross Chastain incident. And now here we are again, back to form.
After this, we had Carson Hocevar, who was in the top 20 at that point, closing in on top 15. Fuck, he was fast. Blow a brake rotor and smack the outside wall, ending his day. Fucking heartbreaking. Real shame, because he was doing so well. I was getting excited for him. I was getting so excited. Right after that, we had something that I... I don't know what happened. I can only apologise for that delay. My stream managed to cut to an Arabic football match. It was either that or I could go and watch the horse racing, and I didn't want to do either. I wanted loud engines and fights. I don't get that at a horse race. You maybe see one rider fall off. Whilst this was happening, I managed to write an entire blog about why Noah Gragson should be going to Joe Gibbs when his contract is up. And you can read that on the Wix site that I made. I'll put a link down below. Once we came back, we got to see Ryan Blaney hold off Kyle Busch for the stage win. 1-2, managed to run 2-1, and Ryan Blaney took home 10 more points. It was either of those two games. In the final stage, Tyler Reddick and Noah Gragson both blew brake rotors, just like Carson Hocevar. Only Noah's brought out the red flag, and that was another 20 minutes added to the total race time. Just so fucking long, that race. Later on, the 15 stopped at the end of pit road and we were under caution again. A bit later, Austin Dillon and Austin Cindric. Now, I don't know what happened because the SMT data was still out. So, did Austin Dillon get purposefully wrecked by Austin Cindric? If you ask the Chase fans and God's experiments, yes, he did, and he should get a penalty. So we had another red flag to fix the outside retaining wall in turn 1, which added some more time onto the race. The Bubba Wallace smacked the outside wall with another brake rotor failure, and I just wanted this race to end, but it went into overtime, and I wanted to plan this and go to bed and just carry on with my miserable existence. On this restart, Kyle Busch took the outside and Kyle Larson took the inside. The same order that it had been. Kyle Busch just ran away. I can't even make it sound interesting. It was just Kyle Busch. Denny Hamlin got second though, so yeah.
Now it's time for Dan's Strong Opinions.
So now we come to my personal favorite segment of the show, Dan's Strong Opinions. And as I always say, I'm a very strongly opinionated guy. I love just saying my opinions, shooting from the hip as I always do. What opinions do I have this week? I actually really like the schedule and how it's laid out. There's a lot of diversity in the tracks we are observing. When you go to a North Wilkesboro and then you go to a Charlotte, a very cookie-cutter track, and then you decide to say, okay, so now after the Coke 600, let's go to Gateway. A very unique track in its almost individualized design. It is reminiscent of Darlington, but with the degree of banking, it's a whole different animal. And now it's on to Sonoma next week. That is a very wide and diverse array of tracks. I like what NASCAR is doing. Don't give us what you always used to feel like, okay, so it's Atlanta. Okay, so now it's Charlotte. Okay, so now it's Texas. And you almost begin to have all the tracks blur together. You don't know where you are anymore. Now with the current layout, it feels like there's a lot more diversity and individuality going into every single race week. I adore it. I want NASCAR to keep doing that. Please keep up the diversity in your track layout. I want more of it.
Well, moving on to picks, and it was an RFK matchup. They started deep, they finished Chris Buescher actually managed to finish 12th and got me the win. So, we're picking for Sonoma. Now, we're not doing a team matchup this time. I'm going to go for a driver who is so talented and one of the best young guys out there. He's won 3 of the last 4 road courses? 3 of the last 5 road courses. I'm going Tyler Reddick. Has to be the guy to do it.
You know how hard it is not being a homer every week? It is incredibly hard saying to myself, think objectively. Pick who I think has the best chance of winning this race, and I have to be a homer, and I have to go with my boy Chris Buescher. Last year, I observed a level of dominance with Chris Buescher on road courses. He may not have got it done, but he was always there or had one of the fastest cars on track. Chris Buescher is going to win a road course at some point in his career, and I believe he's going to do it more than once. I want to say he's going to get it done this weekend. I watched him battle tooth and nail last year with Daniel Suarez, who had one of the most lights-out performances at Sonoma that this kid has ever had in his career, and who was on his tail the whole time waiting for one mistake, but my boy Chris Buescher. He knows this track. He's very good at this track. I think Chris Buescher is going to get it done this weekend.
So that is the end of the video. Make sure you're subscribed, following, checking out the blogs. Latest one is out now. I'll leave a link in the description.
And once again, thank you folks for joining us for another episode of NASCAR Cup Days. And as I've already mentioned, we're heading to Sonoma. I love road racing. I think it's some of the most entertaining tracks that we have on the entire NASCAR circuit. I want 6 of them every year. No more, no less. This new style of car is very reminiscent of a GT car you'd see in like the IMSA series. And it does very, very well on road races. So I think we're going to be in for a great, great weekend upcoming this Sunday. Anybody watching at home, please give us a like and a follow. In the comments down below, let us know how wrong I am, how right he is. Give me a follow on Twitter at CupDatesDan. Always love talking to people, want to hear what you have to say. Let me know your strong opinions. Let me know in the comments. Let me know on my Twitter. Send me any sort of connection, any sort of link you want. I want to hear what you folks have to say. Elliot, thank you for having me. Always a fun time talking NASCAR. And you folks, y'all have a good night.
Cheers.